I learned that for me, rest came with trust. Like rest and trust were the same.
Yeah.
Rest doesn't start with what I think I need. Rest starts with what is God actually saying.
Wow.
And you can only hear what God is saying if you actually spend time like in the Bible, in fellowship with other people, in prayer. And the goal is really to continue to create tangible tools to help people access the life that they believe that they were destined for. Available on Amazon and also sold across Nigeria as well, because I know Amazon isn't great in Nigeria. Yeah, when you respond to that call, the road opens up in front of you in different ways that you would never imagine. Rest doesn't start with what I think I need. Rest starts with what is God actually saying. And you can only hear what God is saying if you actually spend time like in the Bible, in fellowship with other people, in prayer.
That is amazing. And that is a story that best believe I've read many, many, many times. As somebody who's pursuing God's call on my life, the whole idea of Egypt, wilderness, promised land is something that's been resting on my heart for a long, long, long time. And I've never heard that revelation before.
Yeah, same until I got it really
this
year.
And it's amazing, and this highlights, I believe, why community is so important, because you get to have these conversations and you can read the same verse as somebody but get a completely different revelation, and that's just completely blown my mind, because in that scenario it was the same scenario but God gave two different instructions. And it shows how important it is for us to constantly be connected to him, to hear what he's saying next. And it was my pastor that was saying this recently, how Abraham, when he was asked to sacrifice Isaac, now if he had locked off his connection to God after the first instruction, which was go and kill your son, he would have killed his son. And he actually needed the second instruction, which was no, that was just a test. Put him down, look over there, there's a animal for you to sacrifice instead. And it shows why, because if they got that first instruction of go out every day, but actually God had provided a day of rest for them. So if they weren't ready to be sensitive enough to even hear that instruction in the first place, fair enough, those ones that disobeyed and went out anyway, but they needed that second instruction so they would function the way God designed them to function. Wow.
And that's the thing that we always think that like doing, because on paper they did what was smart. Like if you're not going out on Sunday, if other people aren't going out on Sunday because God told them to, maybe there's going to be more for you. If you don't know where your next one's coming from, get two portions today to last you to tomorrow. So it's not about like what is smart, and I think that's what I really want for myself. And by God's grace for other people in faith, is that it's one thing to be pragmatic, read the self-help books, do the best practice, get all the information. It's not that you should be ignorant or dumb or negligent. It's that, okay, that's great, but then what has God said in the context of that? Don't just follow all these formulas that people sell to you.
And a lot of following God's will, I've firsthand experience and seen in the Bible, looks very stupid to the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it looks very like, why would you, that makes no sense. Like what do you think you're doing? Like Abraham, his generation was blessed through that act of faith. But in that moment, even his wife was like, yo, you're not sacrificing the son I waited for this long, you now want to sacrifice him? It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense for Joseph to take on Mary after he did not impregnate her. It did not make sense for a lot of things that happened in the Bible to happen the way it did. But it all brought glory to God at the end of the day, because the end that God had destined for them to get to, they reached it.
Yeah, exactly.
And his name was glorified.
Yeah, and isn't that what matters most?
Yeah.
Really? And
that is amazing. So you do some classes online. Tell us about them. So I actually thought they were free because I saw them on your website and the videos started playing, and I was like, this girl needs to monetize. I was with my assistant last week and we were looking at I was like, she can really monetize this, and then you sent the email back saying you do.
So I launched my first class, Cultivate. So the whole program of classes is called Cultivate, and it's basically building very slowly but intentionally a series of resources to help people live a more well-rounded life, a more purposeful life. And the first one is about a topic that I need, eliminating stress and restoring balance to your busy life. And it's basically a short series of video courses online and exercises. So I've basically been delivering like in-person workshops for the last 2 years on a variety of topics. And one of my biggest things is like exercises and interactive things that people do. So it's not just a course that you just watch although there is that element, it's also exercises that you need to go offline and have a look and read through. So that's basically what it is. And over time, there's going to be all kinds of resources. So we already have a guide to journaling and a year-end planner, which is not available now because it's mid-year, but it's open every December and January for people to reflect on the year that's gone and think about the year ahead of them. So there's kind of those interactive resources. Within the class itself, there's also some resources around affirmation sheets, year planners, wallpapers, like inspirational stuff. And the goal is really to continue to create tangible tools to help people access the life that they believe that they were destined for.
Amazing. I would definitely buy into that. So you guys definitely check that out if you want to be well-rounded, less busy, balanced, and in purpose.
It's cultivateclasses.com.
Yeah, please do check that out. And I just like I said to you online, I just really love your aura. I love what you exude. Like I'm very sensitive to people's spirits, and like it's crazy that even through the medium of social media I could feel your spirit, which is great, and that shows how authentic it is. Like, apart from Jesus, who inspires you? Who would you say you would happily sit at their feet, just like in the olden times,
and listen?
And listen.
Okay, cool. So first of all, thank you so much for that. I definitely feel like that is just God and the Holy Spirit that have that aura. It's definitely not me. So I think that's just like the blessing of God that emanates through social, and
that's definitely your anointing.
Even though people hate social media, I think it can be used for good. So that's
definitely.
just an aside. Who would I sit at their feet and just listen? So we've got to say big up to Auntie Oprah, even though apparently she doesn't like being called Auntie unless it's in Africa. So technically, in the article, it actually says that in Africa it's a sign of respect for people like at any age
I can't call her Oprah.
So she doesn't mind if it's in Africa, and I'm African, so I'm taking it, and I'm still gonna call her that. But yeah, so like Oprah, definitely. I love what she's done with the Super Soul series. That's kind of, I didn't watch Oprah show growing up. I didn't have access to that. It wasn't in my sphere, but just being older and seeing Super Soul Sunday is something I absolutely like completely love. So I'd say Oprah. Who else would I say? I'd say some of the Christian women who preach, the spiritual leaders. So I'd say, for example, Bobby Houston, who's one of the lead global pastors of Hillsong Church. Her and her husband founded Hillsong. She has launched and has been running for over 20 years this thing called Colour Conference, which runs in South Africa, the UK, Ukraine, the US, and Sydney, obviously, in Australia, which is where they are. And I'm just completely in awe of her, basically. And I think that what they've achieved is incredible and way bigger than them, you know. The two people can't do what Hillsong has become. So I completely like love her and would love to spend like one-to-one time with her and just tell her actually like all that she's done. And similar, actually, in that train of thought, when I released my book, I actually sent her a copy, and I wrote her a note to tell her that, you know, a lot of my first ever Colour Conference was around this time that this fellowship started, and I did not want to go. I was like, why do I have to spend over £100 to go to church? Like, I've been going to church all my life. What is this going to really add to me in terms of value? And my friends were just saying, just go. And I went, and I felt like it completely changed my life. Like, the following weeks after that, I felt like I got a clear vision of my purpose, and that's what anchors me today. So I basically like sent her the book, wrote her a note saying like, this is what has happened, thank you so much, and everything. And her assistant passed it on to her and things. So I know that somewhere she's read it. I haven't had any feedback from her yet, but
I'm sure she has.
I'm sure she's seen it, and I'm just very grateful. And she'll get any other future books that come.
Amen.
So I'd say that those two specifically, and there's loads of other preachers that inspire me. So Lisa Bevere, Priscilla Shirer, Christine Kane, and Dawn Cherie Wilkerson, Sarah Jakes Roberts. A lot of the people that I admire or that I see as like mentors are very digital and not people I've actually met. So
I can relate.
I don't know why that's the case, but that's how it is. And then actually the other people,
for the internet though,
honestly, and this is the thing, when people are like, I don't use Instagram, I'm like, that's great, but I'm honestly getting my life, you know, we all do different things. I get it, some people's not their thing, but for me, I get my life from it.
I'm a strong believer in just filtering your timeline in the way you want it.
Same.
And It's a thing where, for me, I've filtered my Instagram so much to the point whereby if I open my phone the first thing in the morning, I know I'm going to get a word.
Yeah.
That's the way my Instagram is now, and that was intentional. So if social media is toxic to you, perhaps look at the people you're following, because it's what you follow and what you like that then gets suggested more for you on the explore page. So it's what you interact with really that creates your own social media atmosphere or cloud, should
Definitely.
I say. Okay, so you mentioned about like the conference being quite expensive, and you were like, what am I going to get? And I do find it quite, and this is something that I've struggled with as well. When it comes to investing in ministry, or things that really will help us be better people, we kind of think twice.
No, I completely agree. Like, you're being very polite by picking your words in the right way, but I fully agree. And because I work in the space of personal growth, spiritual development, I observe that all the time. And people don't want to spend like £20 on an empowerment event or an event where they're going to get practical tools. But if it's like to buy a new pair of shoes you don't really need, for example, and that's no shade, but like, it's just the truth. Like, we don't think twice. We don't think twice to add more stuff than we need to our basket. But all of a sudden, when it's time to invest in ourselves, we're like, And at the end of the day, for example, like Colour is 2.5 days, the conference, and it's like £100. But if you were going to Beyonce for one night, and you know, no shit, I've been to Beyonce, or if you're going to wherever, Kanye West, who I love, like all these different people, it's close to that for 2 hours. So actually, it's not that much of an investment. These things are actually always relatively more affordable. And the question is, are we going to prioritize you know, bettering ourselves? Because then we turn around and we're like, oh, I love what you've done, and I love la. And it's like, okay, we'll come along to this event, and all of a sudden you're not busy, or it's too expensive, or you didn't wake up in time. And the thing is that I strongly believe that people that have built things that last for decades, people that have built things that you actually aspire to, not just quick things, there's an investment that takes place, and it's in time and it's in money. And we need to just prioritize it.
And honor that as well. People's lives is something that I'm coming to realize.
Yeah, exactly. And honor that, because ultimately, you know, these people, they also, if it comes to like specifically ministry, not just personal development, but this is like, it takes a lot out of you. Just even for me, like to read a 5-minute blog, like it takes hours to do, because it's not just a quick blog that's being done just for views. It's actually coming from a deep place of revelation. And just, I think respecting that. Even just in churches and stuff, sometimes like, why do I have to give tithes? Or I didn't like what this preacher said this week. I don't feel like I got anything. And it's just, at the end of the day, for me, for example, like with the tithes thing, maybe I'm too pragmatic. I'm not saying like this is the most theological answer, but I'm just like, I'm coming to this church. These lights are not on by magic. So for me, I'm just like, of course, I'm going to give back to somewhere that I'm getting from. I just see it as practical. I know there's obviously like spiritual implications, but I'm just like, this shouldn't even be a debate, because we know that this life costs money.
I think it comes with revelation and passing on that knowledge. Because I think the verse that they normally use in churches to kind of preach about giving is that whole thing about don't rob God. And you feel like, well, why am I robbing God? That's that in every African church. I'm sure they've been using that same scripture. In fact, to Western churches as well. Now, somebody described it in a very practical way. So I've always believed in tithing, but sometimes I'm not very good with my offering.
Key difference.
I'm not very good with my offering, because I feel like, why am I giving away free money? Like, I feel like I'm obliged to tithe, but then the extra stuff, wow. So the way someone described it was like, you would never go into like a coffee shop, for example, drink the tea, have the cake, enjoy the music, and walk out. So why do we come into church? Get nurtured spiritually. You know, you get your word for that week, you get prayed over, you get poured into, you get loved, you feel refreshed, you feel empowered enough to go into the week, and you just walk out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even that, it's not even about like, oh, we're giving you something so you have to, because churches actually don't do that most of the time. Like, but we should be conscious enough to know that these people have actually sown into us. And also,
when you see it like that,
you'll go like, it's a no-brainer. And I think also like a big thing in our culture is, oh, well, I didn't like the preaching today, or I liked the preaching today, but it's all about like what the church is giving me. But I think in the church that I'm at the moment, I've been doing like a ministry training scheme, so I've been allocated to a church, and I see the need in the area. I see how the church is serving that need in terms of responding to homelessness, responding to mental health, trying to plant churches. And I'm like, it's not, me being here is not just about, oh, I'm coming to church and going to get a good feeling for 2 hours on Sunday. There's all these strategic things going on. How am I going to be a part of it? With my, a lot of churches say, your time, your talent, your treasure, what are you contributing out of the three, or all the three? And it's like, if your vision is bigger than I'm here to get spoon fed, and it's actually like, we're all here to be builders. And that's why Jesus says, like, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Because everybody wants to eat the harvest, and actually to put in the work to show up to church 90 minutes early and put on the service, to come in the midweek and do something. It is a sacrifice, but and it is a labor. That Jesus doesn't say, oh, the co-passengers off you. He says the co-laborers. Like, it is a labor, but the question is, what are you going to choose to labor in? Because even if you feel like you're putting off that commitment or that effort in church so that you can relax, actually you're laboring for something else, whether that's you're working for the clothing store that you're always online shopping with, or whether you're always like out at the bar, or even if you're just like at home doing nothing. Like, there's always, it's not just, it's a tension between doing something and doing something else. It's not a tension between doing something and doing nothing. Whatever you do, you're sowing into something. So the question is, where do you want to contribute to?
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, I, that was not planned, by the way.
Yeah, I can't believe that we started talking about like ties and all this stuff.
We did not plan to go down that route at all. I know creatives hate this question, like, what's next? Where do you... But as somebody that's purpose-filled and purpose-driven, I do feel like we shouldn't stay stuck where we are. Of course, not put pressure on yourself for the next, and get frustrated when it's not manifesting. But where do you feel like you want to take your brand to in the next 5 years or so? Like,
wow, deep questions, but good questions. So I think for me, just like writing is my primary form of communication, my primary form of passion. So I would expect more books. Take What You Need is a very light introduction to just the stuff that I do. It's for people that read and people that don't like reading. It's for everyone. Whereas I think there's going to be more that comes in that respect. I would expect also more conversations. I don't know how that's going to take shape, but through like podcasts, for example, and then also more tangible resources that are not just digital, but similar to the book that you can take home. And that's why this book is only in physical format. And people always ask me, is there an ebook? And there's not, because it's supposed to be like a physical thing. There's journaling pages inside. It's supposed to be a companion. So I would hope that, okay, this is right now on the coffee table here, that there will be more physical things that will
and that's something that we're losing this generation, actually. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's something we're losing. Yeah. So
amazing. Well, is there anything else that you kind of just want to leave the people with, a word of inspiration?
Okay.
Or something that's just been laid on your heart this week or recently that you feel like they might take and run with?
Yeah, I don't know why, but when you asked that, so I didn't know this question was going to be asked, but when you asked that, I think one thing just like came up in me, so I'm going to just share that, which is basically that in life, we all have a call to something, and that call isn't like in your sleep, somebody like crashed into your dreams and said, Mo, you must do this, but we all feel inklings to try new things or to respond in a certain way. So we may see, I don't know, somebody struggling with something and have the need and feel the need to actually create a forum for people to come together and have a chat, for example. Responding to the tiniest but strongest inkling in you actually opens the door for other things. Because when I basically had the feeling, like I shared at the beginning, that I'm learning all this stuff, how come other people, like, I want to share it with other people. That was very strong desire, but it was also, that was it. There was no, I want to have Cultivate classes. There was no, I want to create a book. There was not even, I want to be a blogger. I also even hated Instagram. I just wanted to just fulfill that one thing that I want to share what I'm learning, especially in a world where I remember my first blog post, I didn't even tell anyone. I just told my fellowship group because I didn't want to even have conversations about religion online, because it seemed that everybody was angry at religion online. So I didn't even post it. It was until like 4 or 5 months later that I shared it more broadly with all my friends of different faiths. And yeah, when you respond to that call, the road opens up in front of you in different ways. that you would never imagine.
Yeah, trust me, and I'm a living testament to that. That is amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for
Thanks for having me.
Hope you guys enjoyed that at home. Please do follow Abiola on all her socials and all her websites and check out all the things that she's putting out. You guys should definitely get involved and buy her products. They're amazing. Make sure you liked it if you liked it. Do share it with your friends. Comment down below on the things we spoke about and subscribe to this channel for more. Until next time, guys, peace and love. Peace and chunks.